Alright, I'd like you guys to, real quick, just recall a time in your life where you weren't really sure how to act around people. Weren't really sure what to say, what to feel, what the other person's feeling, and just hold on to that thought. When I was growing up as a kid, I was often called awkward. I was called useless book of walking information, actually. And I was known to make mountains out of molehills all the time. Last semester, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. It is a mild form of autism. It makes day-to-day social interaction really difficult. Real quick, by show of hands, how many of you guys have had something embarrassing happen to you? Just something you didn't think you could live down, right? Happens to everybody. Happens to everyone all the time. Happens to me. I couldn't make eye contact with kids growing up. I would look away from them. Adults would have to follow my eyes across the room. A lot of kids didn't want to talk to me. I would look at the desk, look at the pencil, look at the shirt. About 4 months ago, I actually got slapped in the face. Poor girl thought I was staring at something I probably shouldn't stare at, just trying to read her shirt. It gets me in some pretty sticky situations. Another big issue for me is I can't tell what people are feeling just by looking at their face. I'm emotionally blind, can't tell that. I can tell by the sound of your voice, but it's because I play an exorbitant amount of video games. I have little disembodied voices in my ear from friends I have from across the United States and Europe. I've learned to live with it. I've learned to adapt. And, it gets me in some pretty funny situations. One of those times, I had a little toy, a little white monkey. My grandmother bought him for me when I was, 6 years old, 7 years old. Around when I was 9 years old, he looked tattered, stained, creamy colored, disgusting, really. My mother was happy when he left. His arm started to fall off, and I overthought it. I thought, well, I don't have access to hardware, don't have staple gun, don't have nails. I'm going to go find glue. So I went to our kitchen, and we have this little junk drawer. And this is where stuff in our house goes to die. And we got fortune cookies, soy sauce packets, pliers you can't use anymore. And I opened up that drawer, and I found this little bottle. It said glue on it, had 2 buttons on the side. Like, that's interesting. Took it back to my room, and after about 20 minutes, I could not get anywhere. His arm just kept falling off. So I had a headache. When I was a kid, I'd rub my forehead. So I'd sit there and I'd rub my forehead, and little did I know, I had glue in my hands. I had glued my index fingers to my eyebrows. So I ended up, to this day, I have not lived that down. In my yearbook, I had the back of this eyebrow, the front of this eyebrow. I had one eyebrow between the two. Yeah, so that kind of thing happens all the time, and I learned that my mother could not use a glue gun either. My dad left her alone for 5 minutes. She had managed to glue her hand to her pants, her elbow to the table, and her hand to a bird. So apparently it's hereditary, so warn your children. Another thing I managed to inherit from my mother was the ability to absorb useless information. Makes me great for Trivial Pursuit. I know things like chocolate melts at blood temperature. Who needs to know that? Nobody. I could do that as long as I can remember. My English teacher, my junior high school English teacher, was doing a production of Julius Caesar. And I was Mark Antony, and she would spout off things about the Roman Empire. I'm like, I love the Roman Empire. I'm going to start saying stuff too. So I started telling random facts, like why did they call it a toast? Well, they put spiced toast in their wine. No one really needs to know that. My teacher looked at me and said, Zach, you're just a walking book of useless information. I'm like, yeah, I'm an encyclopedia. It's awesome. So my dad actually made a game of it. Bought a random fact app. Downloaded it, would quiz me and my mother. There is a religion called Jedi Dad. That is a real thing. 10,000 birds die by flying into windows. Windex, curse you. So it's always funny to have those abilities, right? I mean, random facts makes you great for board games. I might be socially awkward, but it's part of my charm. Helps you find real friends. If you can power through that with me. Making mountains out of molehills, great for stories. You can tell stories for days. I have stories for days. So, throughout my life, I've learned many lessons. Some of them slightly funny, some of them hilarious, some of them not so great. And I hope to have many more. Some more hilarious than the others. And it's all about just how to take it. I prefer to take it in stride. So just remember that, that feeling that you have every time you're embarrassed it happens to everybody. There's nothing to be ashamed about.